cock. What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. This video is a cock-up video, I'm telling you that now. But it's a good cock-up video. It's worth knowing this stuff. So just because things haven't quite gone to plan, I don't really care. I'm going to show you anyway because it could help somebody out who's looking to do the same thing. I'm waving about exhaust tube. Steve-O ordered it and it turned up. Along with the flanges, which is all, it looks like they're just like plasma cut or something. And the front half of a collector, which I did really want to make, but that's okay, he's got it now. Cheap as chips. So we was in the throes of, right, okay, we can crack on with the exhaust. That means tube bending. And that's sort of where it all went a bit Pete Tong. Everybody's talking about tube bending and stuff at the minute, and they're all doing it and everything else. And I've watched a load of stuff and some previous videos of tube bending. I agree with some of it totally, 100%. Some of it I totally disagree with, and some stuff I think has just been left out. So I'm throwing my hat in the ring and I'm going to give you my thoughts. It is going to upset a couple of people, I'll tell you that now. But I don't really care, because this is my channel, I can do what I want, and there is an important point to be learned here, and that's that it has to be done properly. And I'll give you an example. Back when I quit racing, basically I finished racing because I used to crash quite a bit and it started to sting, and basically I lost my bottle. So anyway, still had my ACU licence a few weeks later and thought, oh, I don't know, let's just go to Mallory Park and have a go. Maybe I could do next year. And there was a young lad there, he was, oh, I don't know how old he was only a young'un though. And he'd bought himself a crash damaged R6 that he was fixing up as a race bike, and he was going to enter the championship the following year. Don't know if you know Mallory Park. It's bits of it is quite nadry and bits of it is quite quick. So it's a good little test track actually. But anyway, part of the crash damage was the seat frame, because where it's gone an endo, it's bent all the exhaust and it's had the seat frame out. So he basically own brewed one. He made it himself and he made it badly. So as he's come out the bus stop chicane, going into the Devil's Elbow, which is like, it goes, you come onto it in first gear out of the chicane, and then the track dips down, goes round to the left through this big compression and goes onto the start-finish straight. So you are properly on it there. You're starting in first gear, you probably end up in fifth, I think, on something like that. And you absolutely give it the beans. So the back end of the bike is as fully loaded as it's ever gonna be. And the only trouble is, his seat frame that he made broke. Yeah, you can just imagine what happened. He's sitting on all these broken bits of metal, which goes down and hits a back wheel, which is spinning forwards, and him and all these broken bits of metal got dragged into the 1.5-inch gap between the tyre and the swing arm. He was a proper mess. That was a life-changing injury. Life-changing injury. He never walked again. And that's why it has to be done properly. This is why tube bending to me is so important, that it has to be done right. You need to know what you're dealing with, you need the proper tools to get the job done, and you need to be as picky as bloody hell on how you get it done. Because if you get it wrong, the consequences are a bit not good. Not good at all. So anyway, let's get into this and I'll explain what I mean. All right, so first and foremost, is that a bit of tube or is it a bit of pipe? They're different. Not so much in the shape or the wall thickness or anything else, but it comes down to how you actually put a bend into it to start off with. Tube is described by its outside diameter, the material it's made of, and its wall thickness, right? And it is brilliant for making stuff, like structural stuff, because it's very lightweight, it's very strong because of its shape. It's easy to work with, you can bend it, you can cope, you do all sorts of stuff with it basically. So it's really good as a lightweight construction method, okay? That's tube, so, you know, frames on a motorcycle, that sort of stuff. Pipe is similar, however, it is described by the material it's made out of, its wall thickness, and its internal diameter. Basically, pipe takes gas or liquid or whatever from point A to point B. And how much you can get through a piece of pipe is limited by that cross-sectional area there. All right, you can only shove so much through it. And that's what they need to know when they're figuring out how much stuff they need to get from A to B, right? You bend tube with a tube bender. It's designed for it. You bend pipe with a pipe bender. They are different, but they are cheaper. And a lot of people go for them just because of that reason. However, you are basically using a tool that's not specifically designed to do it. And it's all to do with the tooling and the size of the tubing and everything else. You know, if you was to order 1.5" tube like this, the outside diameter is 1.5". All right. So on my tube bender with a tube bending die 1.5", it is a perfect fit around here. If I was to shove 1.5" tube into an 1.5" die for a pipe bender, it wouldn't be a great fit. There would be gaps because it's different. It would nip it and all sorts of stuff. So as you start bending it, you're just going to deform it, right? If you change anything to do with this bit of tube, right, you're altering its strength, okay? It gets its strength from its shape being circular because it's tough in any direction because it's the same shape all the way around. It also gets its strength from the material that is used to make the tube. So mild steel is different to aluminium tube, is different to stainless tube, is different to, you know, whatever. They each have their own characteristics. If you start monkeying about with the metal, like, oh, I don't know, heating it up with a blowtorch, you're heat treating it. You're changing the characteristics of the metal. And that has consequences. And like I said, if you change the shape of this by putting kinks and stuff into it and little nicks, I don't know, like with, what, a ring spanner, for example. Right, every little nick, right, changes the shape of the tube. So it is now no longer as strong as it could possibly be. And all those little nicks and dinks and creases and everything else, they're basically fracture points. A bike vibrates like hell, right? It's got engine vibrations, it's got exhaust pulses flying through an exhaust. That all generates it. You're bumping down a road, going over badgers and hedgehogs and stuff. You know, all these little bumps and vibrations and stuff will stress it out and ultimately it will fail. It will crack. If you can keep a piece of tube like that, right, a nice round shape, it is as strong as it possibly could be. Construction is also important because that tells you how you're going to be welding to it. If it's mild steel, you could MIG it, you could TIG it, you could do whatever. If it's stainless, you're TIGging it. You're using argon. You should back purge it as well, so the inside of the weld doesn't oxidise. You know, there is an awful lot to tube bending. It's not just MacGyver something up and get it to the right sort of shape and be happy with it. You need to consider stuff, basically, is what I'm saying. So anyway, the other thing is the tool. Let me show you mine. This is my JD² Model 3 manual tube bender, and it is awesome. It really is a good bit of kit. Costs you about 350 quid. And then the dies that you can get, they range from, I don't know, 150 up to 350 quid. And each die will only bend a certain diameter tube up to 180 degrees. All right, another limitation is you can't have a really tight bend and then like less than 4 inches before you put another bend into it, just because of the way that the follower and stuff like that sort of engages with the tube. All machines have got their own limitations, and that's basically the limitations of this. But it is a mega bit of kit. This particular die will do basically up to solid bar. You can get a thing where you hook like a hydraulic ram onto this, and the die can take it. So can the frame. So you could bend 1.5" solid bar in this using that particular die. So that's how good it is, basically. But essentially what happens is this bit here, this is a follower. All right, you can take it out. I won't bother because there's not really much point. This is the die. The bit of tube goes between the two, like that. Okay. Then you have just a little collar which goes on and a pin drops in to lock it into place, like that. You do up this bolt here just to clamp it all together, and then you can see as you pull this lever, right, the outside of the tube rubs up against the follower, the inside of the tube is actually on the die, and there's only like a 5mm gap between the two things, so it's supported all the way around, and that's what stops all the tube deforming and everything else. And then as you use the ratchet just to crank this lever that way, you're drawing the tube around the die and it takes on the shape of the die. That's it. It's really simple, but it's really big and it's really heavy and it's really strong. But the thing is, it supports the tube totally. All right? Now, if you remember what I was saying about where a piece of tube gets its strength for, part of that is the wall thickness, and part of it is what material it is. All right? So this is 1.5 inch outside diameter, 1.5mm, 304 grade stainless steel. The fact I can say all that is very important, right? Do not use mystery metal. Something that you just dragged out the scrap bin, you stuck a magnet on it and it fell on the floor, or you know, whatever. That's a stupid test, by the way. Because, you know, depending on the grade of stainless steel, it could be a bit magnetic or it could not be. You can tell from the colour as well, but there's not much difference there either. You need to know what material it is that you're actually using, right? Because that defines everything. It defines how you're going to weld it together, what gases you use, what filler rods you use, blah, 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 blah. Don't guess, it ain't worth it. So I know what material I'm using, and I know I'm using a very good tube bender. So let's bend a bit of tube and see what happens. This is where it's all going to go Pete Tong. Right, so we're all set up. This is snug. It's only a little bit of tube, because I have been playing. This was 1 metre long. I'll show you what happened to the rest of it in a minute. Right, 0, the degree indicator, and then we'll just start cranking. Haven't heat treated this at all. This is just cold, which is the way that you really want to be doing it. All right? So, all we do is give this a tug, move the ratchet around, and it just starts drawing the tube around the die, putting a bend into it. What are we up to? About 18 degrees. It looks like I'm struggling, but I'm not. I'm just hammering it up. Where are we now? 37 degrees. Right. So now what is happening is it's starting to flatten out on the outside. That's important. And now, so that was an extra 4 degrees. That's all it bent, and it's already happened. So I'm going to put another little bit of a tweak on it. So that's 1 degree more. So basically 5 degrees. And it's all gone horribly, horribly wrong. Let me show you. Come on. Look at that. Oh, ripple smooth. Some might look at that and go, oh, I'll be fine. I'll stick it in a vise and crush it and make it a bit more rounder. That'd be perfect. But no, it ain't. This thing is buggered. If you have a look at it, I will get some pictures and stick it up so you can have a look-see. But if you look at the tube itself, there's a number of things going on here, right? First thing is, obviously, it's all crinkled in the middle here. So that's the inside of the bend. And when you're bending it, you're asking the inside of the tube to compress and the outside to stretch. Right, the centre line doesn't really change that much. And if you, apart from the deformation, obviously where it's got wider here, cause it's being mangled, there isn't really that much going on. But here and here, definitely there is. If you look on the outside, you can see the whole tube has kind of been squished in as well. So we're asking this to stretch, it's going, no, I ain't doing it. And the whole thing has just been dragged in as you increase the bend. And obviously this can't compress, so it's all wrinkled up. All that happened, it was fine up until 5 degrees. You know, from going to this, which is nice and round, to that, only took 5 degrees of extra bend. That's how bad it is. Now, because I've basically changed the shape of my tube, this is buggered. This is completely compromised. It is nowhere near as strong as it used to be. Nowhere near, and this is an obvious failure point. Even though it's like sort of smooth ripples, they're weak points, they're fracture points. That's where it's going to break. You know, it's give it vibration, put it through some heat cycles, you know, bounce up and down it, whatever, it's just going to break. It's junk. So I can't use it at all, which is really annoying, because we bought 6 meters of this to do the exhaust pipe with. And it ain't going to work. So why did it happen then? Don't understand. I've got a tube that's 1.5 inches, you know, 1.5mm wall thickness, it's 304, that's what they use on exhausts, that's all fine. The tool I'm using is awesome. It really is good. I've shoved 4mm thick mild steel tube through that, bent it without an issue. And I did a full 180 on it. That was for a fella a few doors down, he just needed something doing. And he had the tube as well. So we bent it, not a problem. However, with this, yeah. Different story. In part, this is why you need to do testing. You need to try stuff. Unless you end up with a perfectly smooth bend, it's not good enough. Not by a long shot. So why has it done it then? Well, 2 things. An awful lot of it is down to the material this is made out of. 304 is pretty tough stuff, it has to be said. However, there's 2 ways that we could influence this. We could either increase the sidewall of the tube, and I do have a piece of 2mm. I just want to know basically now, I'm not doing it with it, but I want to know what 2mm wall thickness will do. So I've got a piece coming and I'm going to shove that through the bender and see what it does. I think I'm going to end up with something similar to this. But I need to know, in case I decide I'm going to build something in the future that happens to be 2mm, 1.5 inches, 304 grade stainless steel, I want to know if I could do it in that. Because if I can't, then I need a different way of doing it. And the different way of doing it is a different tool. You get all sorts of benders. I should probably rephrase that bit. You get all different sorts of benders. That one, as you've seen, clamps one end and it draws the tube around the die. Okay, and I prefer those ones because you've got a definite start point. You can say, right, my bend's going to start here, I'm going to do so much. I know how much material is needed to do a 90-degree bend, so it's going to finish there, and then I can do a straight bit, and then I blah, 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 blah. Right, it's easy to work stuff out. You get others, which is like, if you imagine that's a straight piece of tube, you get a die that goes up in underneath it, and it kind of holds on either side. These are more pipe bender jobbies. You've probably seen them on YouTube. And essentially it's a hydraulic jack, and it forces the die up into the tube, holds the outside, so obviously it bends like that. Never used one. Don't really want to, because they just look a little bit more convoluted, because you're now working from the middle of the bend rather than the start point of the bend. I'm sure if you've used one, they're a doddle. Once you get your head around how to work everything out and blah, 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 they're probably easy. However, you know, I got used to that, and that's what I'm using, and that's what I've got, and that's an end to it. But you get all sorts of stuff. The other thing you get is Mandrel Bends. They are basically the best ones that you can get. And essentially the tube is supported from inside as it is drawn around a mandrel, drawn around a die rather. And the insert basically stops everything from collapsing. It's the most supported tube you're going to get whilst you bend it, which means no deformation or anything else. So I've got a ton of Mandrel Bends coming, which is what I should have done in the first place to build this flaming exhaust. He got 6 meters of this. We are going to use some of it because there's going to be straight bits on the exhaust. But the rest of it is going to be done with Mandrel Bends because it's the sensible way to do it. It's the proper way to do it. It just means chopping the tube up and welding it back together. And I'm quite handy with a welder, so we can get that done. And it'll be pretty looking, not like that. And it'll be strong, and it ain't gonna fail. And it'll be exactly where I need it to be. And it'll get the job done properly. Not MacGyvering something up and then bashing it with a hammer and heating it up and squashing it in a vice and this, that and the other, just because you can't be bothered to do it the proper way. See, that's the bit that's going to upset someone. So he's in the bin. Junk. Well, apart from the straight bit, I'll use that bit. But yeah, tube bending is it's not hard to do. It's not hard to do. But you do have to consider things. You know, you need to know what material you're using, what material you should be using. If you can just buy new rather than use scrap, do that, because you know the condition of it. You know it hasn't been gone through any heat treating or any monkiness like that. Use the proper tool to do the job. And if a tool you got won't do the job, you know, don't just settle for that. Go and buy one that's already done. That's why I'm getting the Mandrel Bends. You know, they're going to look nicer. They'll get the job done. They're not that expensive. And it will just be betterer. Why wouldn't you go for betterer? It's your bike at the end of the day. I know people are going to have a go and go, oh, you're having a go at him again. Well, I'm not. Well, I haven't mentioned who it is even. Oh, you know who it is. That's obvious. But, you know, just by way of example, that's what I think on it. So anyway, when the tubing gets here and stuff, we are going to build an exhaust. I will walk you through absolutely everything on it and show you how it's done with mandrel, you know, the way that I do it with Mandrel Bends and whatnot, and how you get them cut right and all that sort of stuff. And you'll see it's not that hard. And you can save all the pain of having to MacGyver up some way of bending tube that's a crap way in the first place. Right, so if I'm not doing exhaust, I'm going to do size carb and get this out of the way, because then it's done and it's out the way. Right, what have we got here? Right, so these all back together. There's a couple of broken bits on it, and he does need to get a service kit, but it's basically all there. His hot start cable's cracked. It's just old, basically. And there was loads of goo and muck and crap and stuff in it. But anyway, it's all clean, so he can have that back. I'll just shove it in here. Keep it nice. Come on, there we go. Right then. Why did he get one of these? Looks a bit big. Where's the link? It is a bit big. Pom. Right, so we're going to either need to flare out the start of the link pipe to go into the collector, or I could just make a collector. Actually, where's those tube expanders? Bought these, never used them, but they're for like expanding out tube. So basically you shove that in a tube like that, and then as you wind this up, it drives this cone on either end between the blades, and it sort of expands it up. I'm wondering how much we can expand this tube, because like I say, I've never had a go with one. Oh, why are you doing that? Right. I want to know, so why aren't you going round? Why aren't you going round? What's going on there? See, this is the trouble with crap tools. You have to fix them before you can use them, and then probably when you use them, you're just going to break it anyway. But I've got this tube expanding kit. It's about 15 quid, so I'm not expecting miracles. Essentially, all that happens is there's this middle bit is supposed to be hardened. Not convinced. There's a nut on the end that sits in a little cone in a hexagonal recess, and it's just got these wedges. So as you wind this in, it forces the two cones together and it expands. That's the idea anyway. All the marketing hype and stuff says it's brilliant. I'm not convinced, because the nut had seized on it, and where it had been put into the end on the cone, that one hexagon shape, there were burrs and all sorts. So I want to see if it's actually going to work. So what we're looking at, 38.2, 38.2, 38.2. Right, this is in a vise, you're on the table, so you're probably going to wobble about a bit. Wrong way. Right. Let's give it a go. You're wobbling, aren't you? It is struggling. That far in, it is struggling. Come on. There we go. No. That's necking the threads already. Junk. Junk. Right, well that's trashed. I only used it once. Bloody hell. I will get some pictures of this. Can you? I'm not sure you can see that. It's junk. I'll get some close-up pictures and show you. Thread on the inside of the nut has started to go as well, and you can also see where it's been skipping. So the corners of the nut have been marred up, and you can see in here as well. There's like a little dimple, you know, like a little dink halfway between. So this is obviously kind of gone round and ended up sitting like that, which is handy. That's rubbish. Why did they use that thread? I mean, like the thread you get on like a vice, for example. I'm not sure what the proper name for it is. I call them Acme Threads. But it's like, instead of being like a triangular thread like this, you know, like the 60-degree jobby, it's basically square. It's I'll see if I'll find another picture and I'll chuck it up or find out what the proper name is. But I call them Acme Threads, and it's like what you get in a vice, and they can take hell of a lot more load. I think it could work. It could work. It just needs to be a hell of a lot tougher. So what was we? 38.2. Did it shift it? Yes, it did. By 0.36 of a mil. It's rubbish. Give it a clean and you'll lose that. Right. I think we can, I mean, I like the idea. The idea is a good one because it is dead simple. I think that recess needs to be deeper. And it needs to have one of them there Acme threads on it, and this needs to be hardened properly. Because, I mean, with one use on 0.15 thick wall stainless, I mean, that's just shocking. Has it bent it? It might have even bent it. I don't know, it could be my eyes. So, I think I've got another little project on the go at some point. I'm going to have to remake this, have a think about it. I wonder if that would work. Why can't you do? Oh no, because then it'd spin. That bit needs to rotate easy, doesn't it? I might be remaking this. I'll get some hex bar stock, turn it down on my lathe once Matt has finished doing his thing. Put an Acme thread on it and an Acme thread nut, because that'll be a lot stronger. I can get them to harden it in work, and we could be onto something here, but it would be really handy to be able to flare out tube, you know, just to expand it so you can do slip fits and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to get changed. I think these bits is tough enough, you know, the fingers and the cones and whatnot. It's just the stupid thread they used. That's just pointless. Oh well, it only costs 15 quid, so I don't really give a monkeys if I trash it. But, you know, it would be nice to maybe adapt it so it worked. This lot is a bit bigger. Certainly got heavier duty thread on it, but it's still like a normal thread. So, you know, bigger tube and stuff, you'd expect it to generate a bigger load. So that's just got a break in it. Right, I'll be remaking them then. See, the other thing I don't like about this is if I get two pieces of the 38mm to, you know, 1.5" tube, stick them in here. Yes, they fit nice and neatly in there, but I'm still going to have to make an insert for the middle because you've got a big gap in it. Now, I'm not too keen on that because that will be facing forwards. So that's just going to gather all sorts of junk and crap in it. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to use this either. So what I'm thinking is I might end up making my own. The way they do these is quite simple. It's just like it's done in a hydraulic press basically. So you get a piece of tube, you flare out one end on a die that gets, you know, so basically you're squashing it. So you squash a cone in that end to flare it all out, and then you put another jobby on which has got like 4 fingers like that. Goes on this end, you squash it all together, and in this end you've got like 4 38mm sort of studs to it, if you like. You just press the whole thing together, and that's how you get the shape. And the idea is that you stick your tube in the end, you weld it up, and jobs are good. So, you know, specialist tooling needed to do it. And my way is going to be harder, but still totally doable. What I think we need to do is we've got this 2mm tube coming. I need to see if I can bend it. If I can, then we stand a good chance of getting this done next week, is what I'm hoping. And if I can make one out of that 2mm, then when Steve-O rocks up at the weekend, he can have a look-see and he can decide which way he wants to go. But essentially, you would get 2 bends. I mean, not like that, obviously. Shave a little bit off each of the ends, stick all 4 together, and then weld them up. That tube expander, the big one, will go up to 54. So that will expand stuff out to this, but I don't think it's going to expand this tube, even though it's got a bigger thread. It might make something that's not round, round again, but it ain't going to stretch it. So, with a little bit of jiggery-pokery, we might be in here, and I might get to make my own collector after all. We'll just have to wait and see. I think the tube is turning up on Tuesday, so I'll have a few days just to goof about in here and see if it's doable. And step 1 is going to be to see if I can bend it. If I can't bend it, well, I've got Mandrel Bends coming, which is this size tube. So it would just be a case of, you know, cutting them up, not cocking it up, and tigging it all together. But we shall see. To be fair, I've had better days in here. Everything I've touched has turned to poo today. So I've crushed up a load of tube, trying to bend it. That didn't work. The collector doesn't fit the link pipe, and also the way the tubes go into it is going to leave a big old gap in the middle, which is going to look horrible, and it's just going to collect water and rain and God knows what else. So that's not a good thing either. And I broke my tube expanding tool, so I'm not happy about that. But we did say that you know, on this channel you're going to get to see everything. Because if you're looking to do a project by yourself and you haven't done some of these bits and pieces before, like what we haven't, you're going to have days like this and stuff is just going to go wrong. And it has. But at least I can explain why. So what's the next steps then? Right, well, I think Steve-O is bound next week. He was going to be away for 2 weekends with his girls and whatnot. And then he's going to be down again for 2 weeks. So 2 weekends back to back. So I think he's down next weekend. So I've already got a load of stuff on order. I've got a metre length of the same stuff as this, only thicker wall section. So we're going 2mm just to see if that helps. Basically, I just want to know if it does or not. I don't think it's going to work, but I want to know if that tube bender can bend stainless, and if it can, then what wall thickness we're talking about. So, you know, I'll just need to get someone, we'll give it a go and we'll try it. If I can bend it in that, we're going to use that to make our own collector. Just because it's a 1 metre length, I ain't going to need any more than that. So as long as I get my bends right and everything else, we're in, we've got a collector. If that doesn't work, I've got Mandrel Bends on their way down. I've got 8 90-degree, again, same stuff as this, 1.5. I've got 8 90-degree ones and 4 45-degree ones coming. So we'll just have a couple of them and cut them up and use them instead. Be all right, be all right. So that'll happen. So we'll have a collector, we'll have something to aim at, and with the other Mandrel Bends and the tubes that we got, we should be able to get the headers sorted. And basically that's all I want to do to start off with. Because until we get the foot pegs done and they're on, I'm not going to know where I need to send the link pipe. So that's that. The other thing that he can help with is getting the oil cooler on. Surround's all done, sorted out what I'm doing with the mounts. I just need to get the mounts on there. And to do that, I need an extra pair of hands, basically. So for once in his life, Steve-O is going to be useful, and it's going to be the next couple of weekends that he is. I'm hoping as well that Matt during the week is going to finish up the wiring on the lathe. We had a capacitor and we've seen it turn in, it all turns the right way and everything else, but we just need to sort out a continual running. So I'm hoping he's going to be down. We can get that sorted because there's going to be some stuff I need to make. But there you go. That's where we are. That's what's happening. At least Simon Roll's got his carbs sorted and I didn't cock them up. Anyway, that's where I'm leaving it today. I'm going home and sulk. Do hope you're staying safe. It looks like it's all about to go batshit crazy again from what I'm seeing on the news. So look after yourselves and we'll see you again next time. Laters.